Okay, well, welcome everyone to the North Bay Electric Auto Association's October meeting. I'm Ellen. I'll be facilitating the meeting today. And okay, so just our agenda, we'll be going through introductions, chapter business, EV events, offers, and news. Then having a little presentation by Cecilia, and then an open discussion. So I thought I'd mix it up a little bit today and ask who you are, and then ask what is your dream EV road trip destination, and what would your dream EV be for that adventure? So if we could just keep it really short here with, less than a minute, short and sweet would be great, but I thought it'd be fun to add a little twist to our intro section today. And I'm going to stop the share, and we'll start with the Zoom people first, and then we'll do the in-person folks. So I'll start us off. My name is Ellen. I would say that my dream destination for an EV trip would be Prince Edward Island, which is just northeast of Maine in Canada. And I'd love to do the trip in a Aptera. So there you go. I'm going to pass it off to Russ.
Hi, I'm Russ. I'm in Petaluma. I actually took my dream trip last month on your meeting date. I was up in Vancouver at the Fully Charged show. And I didn't take it in my dream EV, which also Aptera, which is I have a model of here.
I love it.
They released their 3D models last week.
Awesome.
So,
well, thank you, Russ. That's great. I'm going to pass it off to John now.
Okay, I have a question, Russ. Is that a 3D printed model?
yes, it is.
Oh, cool. I want it.
Go to Thingiverse.
Okay. So yeah, I'm John, and I'm Ellen's dad, and we've dreamed a lot of things. It's interesting, Ellen. I didn't talk to you about this, but my dream trip lately would be to go to the Virginia area, East Coast, and go get on a boat of one of the men he has a Nissan Leaf motor with the drivetrain and half of the transmission driving the prop on a 45-foot sailboat. And it's really working well. This is from Thunderstruck. And I would love to go there in an Aptera like you and get on that boat and go around the bay, or whatever, go out in one of their waterways. That would be so cool.
Awesome. Thank you, John. I'm going to pass it on to David next.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, David Heacock.
Okay.
Or
Hi,
let's start with David Heacock. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Oh, okay. I guess Aptera. I'm Dave Heacock. I guess Aptera seems to be the cool thing today. I don't know if it's a dream trip or not, but I guess it's kind of a maybe it's going to happen trip. I want to drive or somehow get my Aptera back from San Diego and drive it back up here to Northern California. We'll see if that happens, but I don't know. That seems to be a thing today. That's interesting. A lot of people interested in it. It looks better every day as far as them coming out. They're now in the production intent builds are starting to do that. So it looks really good.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, thank you, David. I'm going to pass it to Bernie next.
Okay, can you hear me? Yeah, I'm Bernie Dolan, and this is strange and maybe even embarrassing a little bit, but my dream car is an Aptera as well. But I would like to go back to the Four Corners area of Colorado, New Mexico, what else in there? Arizona, I guess, and Nevada. And I did it last year in my Model 3, And I'd like to do it and camp all through that area in my Aptera when I get it next year, I hope. Okay, that's
Wow.
it.
That's awesome. Thank you, Bernie. Please keep us posted if you do that trip.
Okay.
Okay, Cecilia, next. I'll pass it to you.
Thanks. I actually went to the PEI in 2019, my current card, but my dream trip would be to go up to Alaska, see the Northern Lights, also in an Aptera, since it's kind of hard to figure out how to like charge along the way. So it's like, you know, have the sun, have a chance of like getting there eventually, and then getting back.
And you have to have your
Totally.
right movement if you're going too, so you need room for that.
Yes. I love it. That sounds amazing. Okay, David Harris.
Thanks. Yes, it is confusing that both Davids have the last name that starts with H. I'm sitting on my roof waiting to see if there's enough break in the clouds. There is enough sunlight to turn my photo glasses dark, you can see, but not enough that you can't even pick out where the sun is behind the clouds. Well, right now I can see where it is, but that's about it of this eclipse. But we started driving electrics with our first Leaf in 2011, and I was born in the upper Midwest in South Dakota, and certainly the range of a Leaf would never get us there. So yes, the fact that solar panels are going to be on the Aptera make it actually a car that would allow you to stay charged when you weren't even next to power lines. So we'll see.
Totally. It's sounding like maybe as a club we need to buy an Aptera and just share it collectively. Okay, I'm gonna pass it to the in-person room, maybe starting with Mike.
All right, hi everybody. Yeah, as far as dream trips, I take them all the time. So I've rented 3 EVs this year. So
Via car rental agencies or Turo?
Well, two through car rental agencies and 1 through Turo. So Turo would be a great way to drive an Aptera, right? Just what you said, Ellen, was we get an Aptera and put it on Turo. But then as just you were asking and thinking about it, maybe my dream EV would be a massive Royal Caribbean ship that is only electric without those great big diesel engines blowing
with sails
smoke.
on.
Sure, with sails
Yeah,
and
with sails on, yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I listened to a little news article that was from back east, like a cruise ship pulls into New York City. There's some harbor there, and they're allowed to, or they have electric plug-in while they're in dock, so they could not have their diesel running. But only a small set of cruise ships are compatible or can do that. So anyway, I think my next one is to get all those cruise ships off their big diesel engines.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh,
Clockwise.
I'm Jerry Glazer, and I don't know that I have a dream EV or a dream trip. The trips I like to take are going to Europe and just seeing all the old cities and hanging out. And the dream vehicle for me is I like to get on a train. I hate driving, and I've been driving EVs since 1998. And the car does most of the driving these days. But even at that, it's I enjoy getting out smart more than anything else. And I'm just sorry that it's not electric.
Yeah, hi, Brent Arthur. Love the discussion of breaking it out of just, a automobile. And yeah, last summer I got to go on an all-electric ferry out to the Westmannaeyjar fjords in Iceland, and they had this huge tower next to it, and a charger comes out and thunks, into the whole boat. It's just really amazing. And yeah, I would love to do a road trip Europe sometime, like maybe rent an ID Buzz or something like that.
Yeah, but you don't need to in Europe. You can take the train. Any place you want to go, you can take the train.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Brad Morrison. my dream trip today, since I can't seem to plan anything in advance at this point in my life, is to go to Ukiah. They do not have a train from Santa Rosa to Ukiah. So any electric vehicle that could get me from Santa Rosa to Ukiah would be my dream electric vehicle for today. Thanks.
You can get an electric airplane that can make it that far.
Where? Where would I get that?
Well, there's a guy down President has
Yeah,
four of them.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
You can rent an electric airplane on Turo?
Well, they actually, no, I'm not sure.
Oh.
And the reason you can't get it yet, is the FAA hasn't figured out, although other countries figured out how to certify them.
Huh. That's
So I'm Dom, and I think, given the price we paid for the EV6, I think I'm driving my Jeep. And so we did a trip a couple of years ago, a camping trip where we went to Santa Barbara and then across the desert and came up 395 to Mammoth and Kern Canyon, and then back across. I think we came up 80 or maybe. I think to make it the dream trip, we would do that in the EV6. I mean, I spent so much time of my life outside of California with business travel. And so we've been really focusing on staying local. So that would be the trip, I think, would be Santa Barbara to Mojave to Kern Canyon to Mammoth Lakes to Gray Eagle and back, and just do sort of this inner loop of the coast of the inside this side of the
You'd have to
Sierras.
charge the EV6 at least once.
At least once. That's right. That's right.
Hey, I have when you brought up the EV6, I have a story. A friend of mine hasn't come up to visit in a long time. And those of you know me well, I talk about the India Mafia. A friend of mine knows just about every Indian transplant in the Bay Area. And he came up to visit. And we'd hike with those guys every weekend. And I had an EV. And so we'd go out and we'd hike. And this is back in the 90s, and then the 2011 model for sure we're doing as well. And after the 2011 model came out, the guys started buying. They made fun of it. They started buying EVs, and eventually most of them now have 2 EVs. So my friend Raj came up and he told me, "Hey, this is my last car. He has his 2012 Leaf and has his Tesla 3." So he got into the EV6. He's second guessing whether this is his.
That was his last car.
He looked at the EV6. He says, "Just about everything I don't like about the Tesla is fixed in this car."
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Well, thank you everyone for sharing. It's really fun for me to hear all your dream trips. Hope it was fun for you too. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen again, and we'll get on to chapter business. So as you know, the EVA mission is to educate and advocate for the rapid adoption of electric vehicles. If Cecilia does an amazing job of putting together these presentations into a YouTube video each month, so you can check that out.
I've got a quick question about the website. I don't know if anyone else experienced it.
The two
links that it opens up a new window. Is that how it works for other people?
No,
that makes sense.
The meeting link, just
I just went on there this morning and that's how it worked for me. I just want to make sure while you're mentioning the website.
No, it brings you another page, and then says, "Do you want to join this?" Oh, the meetings page that shows all the meetings. Is that what you're talking about?
So on the home page, it lists, because I was trying to figure out whether there was an in-person meeting today, because I can't use my laptop that I've used for the last several years. So when I clicked the meetings link, it opened a new window. I just wasn't sure if that was how you guys wanted to do that. Anyways, just wanted to mention it.
And what device were you on?
Phone.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll try it later.
I'm not sure. Maybe Cecilia, you know better than I do probably about that, but we could also.
I'll take a look at it. This is from the front page.
Yeah.
The
the meetings button.
The meeting details button brings up a new tab.
Okay.
That's
I should do that.
Okay. So most of you know this, but the two main groups for the majority of people are the NBEAA club group, as well as the NBEAA discuss group. The club group is for meeting notifications, and the discuss group is for group discussion. Those are the two main groups to join if you're interested. And then, yeah, so we recently had the National Drive Electric Week program at Sonoma Clean Power, and I wasn't sure, Brant, if you would be interested in sharing just a little recap about that.
Sure.
Or someone else perhaps.
Yeah, I can say words. So yeah, it was that was the biggest event that we've ever had at our Advanced Energy Center. There were over 300 attendees, and we just based that on the number of gift bags that were picked up, and those went pretty quickly too. So great. When I look back at our outreach numbers too, I talked to our social media guy Brian, and he said that through Facebook and Instagram we had about 400,000 impressions. So he was kind of running a bunch of different posts, for about the month leading up to it. I would say that we reached a lot of people who were already successful. We reached a lot of people who we are already successful at reaching. Yeah. So there's a lot of older and middle to upper income folks. Yeah. I think when we talked about it and we had a discussion on just with some of the folks who were at the help put on the meeting, but feel like that demographic, they have an interest in electric vehicles, but maybe more than others want to hear from experts compared to doing their own research or talking to friends, although felt like a lot of people there had also done their own research. We did not have any attendees for the Spanish presentation, so we had Spanish versions of each presentation. Talking to some of my colleagues who were at the door, they felt like people were going back and forth a lot between the vehicles that were on the street and, talking to people inside, they'd see a vehicle, they'd go inside, then they come back outside, look at a vehicle and go back inside. So I think that went well. We did have some vehicle manufacturers expressed interest. Ford reached out. I think there were a few others, but we, decided that we really wanted it to be coming from people with experience, driving that vehicle and being able to talk about it.
Do you have to know, like, did they find out by seeing it on social media, or how did they come about contacting?
Yeah, so Ford, I think, was just emailing everyone who had registered for an event on the National Drive Electric Week website.
Okay.
Oh, wow, okay.
So it was kind of like Ford corporate saying, "Hey, we'll put you in touch with our local dealership." But we want to support these events. We also had some community members show up. So it was somebody, unbeknownst to us, showed up with his Ford Focus Electric, and kind of parked it at the end, and that was fine. He made his own little sign, and we had somebody show up with a Fisker at the end. Yeah. After the Ford E-Transit had left, and that was fun too. I'd never seen one of those vehicles in person, and had the solar panels on the top, had a back seat that reclined, which I had never heard of as a thing.
Oh, the back seat in my car reclines, and the back seat of the Ioniq 5 both reclines, and you can move forwards and backwards.
Okay, so all future vehicles will have reclining back seats.
I think so.
As long as your teenagers drive.
Yeah, in terms of kind of like next steps, we have a list of 250 people who signed up via Eventbrite, and we capped that at a certain point just because we're kind of worried. I think there were a few points where we're kind of worried about hitting like our fire marshal, numbers for the building. But we do want to reach out to those folks, whether it's just sending them the slides or kind of some other next steps. We had some AV issues that we'd like to address, and I'm just curious, maybe as Sonia, I think you provided some great feedback, and Ellen, you did too, but any other discussions about what went well, maybe areas for improvement? Maybe we could also talk about suggestions for future events. I personally would love to do something that was maybe more focused on the Spanish speaking community and maybe, going to a location that was more approachable.
What media outreach did
for that
you guys do
community?
to the Hispanics, Spanish speaking?
Yeah, so we worked like with Los Cians and some other folks who put in their newsletter, but I don't think we had Spanish specific outreach, which we have done. Sometimes for some events we will need Spanish.
Has Sonoma Clean Power ever checked in with Eddie Alvarez or Natalie Rogers?
Yeah.
Okay, because I know they represent much more the Spanish speaking communities, the sections of Santa Rosa.
Yeah.
The other thing was actually, this is a little bit separate, but has Sonoma Clean Power ever tracked, like on a map, where the chargers that they subsidize are located?
Yeah, we have maps of where chargers are.
Do you guys have a sense of how many chargers are located in like Roseland, for example, compared to other parts of the city? Or
Not off
county?
the top of my head.
Yeah, no, but that might actually be helpful or interesting data.
So I have three things that occurred to me. One was I had a lot of people around the EV6. I think everybody knows that. We were by the front door. That was one thing. But the other one was when I was talking, people told me what they wanted out of an EV, and these were a lot of people who didn't have EVs. And I said, and they're talking about price and what they wanted to do. And I said, a Tesla would do that. And I had at one point 10 people standing around me, and they all said, "We're not getting a Tesla."
I've heard that a lot.
Over and over and over again.
I'm
We're not getting a Tesla.
Yeah.
Well, the main reason they don't want a Tesla?
Elon
Musk. That was it.
Yeah, not one more penny to Elon Musk. I heard that a lot.
Now, on demonstration, there are two things I think we missed the boat on. One was Sonoma Clean Power has an EV powered van, and people came and walked up, and instead of talking about the van, end up talking about Sonoma Clean Power. That's the first time I've seen, and that's on top of the same platform, I understand, as the
This is the face-to-face van.
Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought the van itself as an EV, because there are people, especially in the construction fields, whatever, they'd love to have something like that. And yet nobody ever got to find out that it wasn't an EV. I said, well, it's too bad this isn't an EV. And she said, yeah, it is. And that's the only time I think anybody ever said, this is actually an EV. And that was a missed opportunity. The second was the popcorn maker. I think the popcorn maker wasn't as impactful as if I had parked the EV6 and charged another car.
Right. Yeah.
Because I had the charge cable in there, and we had more questions about charge cables and how charging is done and all of that. And the opportunity for that, the 110 wasn't as impressive as what's the connector look like? So having a Tesla or somebody with a North American standard sitting there with CCS and then another one with the Chatamo to have the discussion and plan that out. That would be useful because people cared about charging. And the one discussion which I had over and over again was, what do you do if you're out in the middle of the one guy asked me this question was, do you carry a spare battery with you?
Yeah, and it's built into the vehicle.
Yeah. And I said, well, wait a second, what are you driving? I said, Subaru. I said, do you carry a can of gas? And he said, no, I can get gas any place. So I pointed the building across the street and I said, I wonder if that one has electricity in it.
Or that one, or
those lights. The one in the middle of Nevada. Yeah.
So I was at the table, and it was interesting. I found myself at the table about 10% of the time. I spent 90% of my time next to the charging stations, and I had every question. As soon as I would leave, I had one more question about charging. Someone else.
The ones that were
right?
The ones on the wall.
On the wall, yeah. And everybody wanted to know what the connector looked like. People didn't have a clue what amps versus watts versus miles per hour charging meant. No clue whatsoever.
Went through that about 16 times.
Kilowatt hours, 20 volt, 20 amp. No, people were just, so we need to do something about that. And I'm not sure what that is. Maybe we need I think we should just talk in terms of miles per hour charging and
Yeah.
ignore everything else.
And you're seeing it on some of the labels now too,
Yeah,
miles per hour
miles per
charging.
hour charging.
And you
and
ask
then-
that question, people will understand it.
Yeah,
One of the things
because
that,
that they get,
Do you mean miles per charge?
miles per hour.
Like,
charging.
range added in.
range added per hour.
Oh, okay, okay.
This adds 10 miles. This, like my old Volt would charge at 10 miles an hour, yeah, 10 miles an hour. And, you know, we need to somehow get that message across. And
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
in simple terms.
The part that was, the part that was fun on the EV6 was when people asked that, I said, well, this charges at the rate of 1,000 miles per hour.
1,000
And one guy
miles per
says, you can't put 1,000 miles in here. I said, no, you're right. You can't put 1,000 miles in here, but it charges at that rate.
Correct, which means you're plugged in for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we need to have that, or pick another unit that we want to talk about and only talk about it in those terms.
Yeah.
And everybody over into that.
And we might need more than one
Framework.
person in a car because there were so many times that I had so many people that I had to stop talking to one person and go talk to
Yes.
another one
Yeah.
because
Right. Yeah, but it was, I thought your point, Brent, about having the owners and the drivers at their cars was spot on.
yeah.
You know, because I mean, they're going to be advocates, of course, but still, I think people would get, you know, real answers to the real world questions, because that's what it was all about.
One
was the
woman
real-
wouldn't believe me when she asked me, well, how much maintenance is there on the vehicle? I said, been driving an EV since 1998. I've had to get new tires.
Tires and windshield washer fluid.
Well,
Wiper blade.
but also, Jerry, not the same vehicle since 1998.
Well, I know, but I've had vehicles for 7 years and the maintenance over 7 years was a new set of tires.
Cecilia has something she wants to add.
Please.
I don't know if there's any discussion about the classes, but those were very well attended. It was like standing room only.
Yeah.
Especially when for Brant's presentation, I didn't notice for my own, but it seemed very well received. People had lots of questions and were very interested in the topics.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was really fun. I think there are a lot of conversations that were sparked by your presentation, Cecilia, afterwards. And I'm curious if anybody had like any other topics that they thought if we did something like this again, would it be the same topics? Were there kind of other areas of interest that you heard from conversations?
Charging.
Yeah, I tried to point as many people as I could towards existing businesses so that they didn't just come for the one event. I
Yeah.
pointed a lot of people towards Thunderstruck Motors. I pointed a lot of people towards Shift.
Really good. That's good.
I mean, we don't have a used vehicle dealership in the North Bay that specializes in EVs, but I would have pointed a lot of people towards that if I knew of one.
We need that business.
Yeah, some of you said that over and over again too.
We need that business.
Yeah.
You know,
It might be nice to have an example of a trip planning using like PlugShare, you know.
Oh, to like actually kind of have an example trip and kind of go through each thing as more like a live demo.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Cecilia definitely talked about it, but.
That would be an easy one too, John. I mean, I just think about what any of us does. Like if I go down to Morro Bay, I look down and I go, okay, how long do I want to drive? Which stations are DC plus and are free to me?
Start there.
I start there. If it's not free to me, then I'll still stop. But
Yeah, and the idea of getting a backup, having a backup in mind, you know, is something that, you know, people do in the aviation industry, but drivers of cars don't ever think that way, you know, but we can train them.
I'm older. I used to. Yeah, I used to drive across the country over and over again, and I was constantly thinking about, okay, I know I can get gas here in Nebraska. What if that one's not working? Aviation, I know, because the pumps often don't work.
I'll say another thing that we thought about was that we had vehicles on both sides of the street.
Yeah.
I'm really pleased that nobody got hit by a car.
Yeah.
yeah.
We talked about how had kind of everybody nose in, but like maybe if we did it again, like have everybody back in, because it seemed like everybody opened up their trunk and that was kind of where people stood around
Right.
and talked rather than the front of the car.
Right.
Yeah, I thought about doing that originally, but once I saw those spaces,
Mhm.
when we had the cones out there, I don't think it was much of a problem. We still had 2 feet worth of space
Yeah.
between the traffic and my car anyway, and so people could walk around it, look good, get in the doors.
Brad, did you think about doing the parking of the event kind of in the back? So is that even I haven't been in the back there. Is it a
Yeah.
possibility that way you get, people could walk around between the cars, you could position the cars how you wanted it in more of a
So I
parking
think it's
lot
lot 10 is the
Okay.
Santa Rosa City parking lot that's back there.
Yeah.
And we've talked to them about adding chargers back there as a
Yeah.
side conversation.
Right.
I mean, we do have a back entrance to the center, but it is just for staff.
Oh, okay.
You know, that's,
Okay,
there's kind of
so-
offices back there and all the prep stuff. So
Yeah.
it would have been a different event in terms of like having people in the event and out there. You know, I mean, we could do something at our headquarters that is a block away, you know, that, you know,
Yeah.
has a pretty big lot during the weekend.
But you get the Sonoma Clean Power. So, I mean, the
Yeah,
event
the
energy
visibility
center
was
is still
fantastic,
awesome. Yeah. Just trying to figure out a way to make it feel more safe. Although I think like you said, we were lucky nobody got injured, but.
Yeah, and you know, I would love to think of, you know, going to, you know, where people live and recreate, you know,
Yeah.
next time if we had an idea of, you know, different demographics that we might want to reach out to.
How about at a charge station
Hmm.
at Walmart and Roder Park or Santa Rosa Plaza?
Hmm.
And we do something there because Santa Rosa Plaza, you got EVgo, Electron America, and I think there might be a third one up there.
So when we did them years ago, we did like Coddingtown around the ones that Coddingtown.
Yeah, or Coddington.
But
Yeah.
I like what Brett said, or I mean, I think, you know, all these we know is a lot of work to put on,
Yes.
but getting it where we reach the right demographic that we
Yeah.
want to reach.
Yeah.
And so maybe those lots don't have charging stations in them today, but you know, if it was like at the
Oh, yeah.
some parking lot in Roseland or something
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that, it would be.
So we had Grid Alternatives there who were talking about Clean Cars for All program, which right now is only applicable if you are both eligible and live in Roanoke Park. They limit it by zip code. It is going to be opening up to all Bay Area zip codes, and there will also be a statewide program for any areas that aren't currently covered by, for example, the Bay Area Air Quality Management District sponsors the Bay Area program. But I think that's, you know, that is a program where I think the main issue is that you find people that are eligible for it and they don't believe it's real, you know? And so like the main hurdle is just being like, no, this is real. If you have the 2005 or older car and you scrap it, you know, you can get, you know, 95,000, you know, plus more for charging, you know, for a vehicle. And yeah, it would be interesting once that is available to the whole area to maybe partner with them to do other events.
Actually, I know where to have the
Oh,
event.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
The place to have the event is.
Hey,
the-
Jerry. Sorry, just
Yeah.
to interrupt. I'm going to kind of move us along here just in the interest of time, but I think if it's okay, maybe we could have this discussion at the end of the meeting. Does that work,
Sure.
sir?
That's
'Cause
fine.
I think this is a really important discussion, and I hope we can maybe even work up to having a couple events a year like this because it was so successful. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah, thank you to everyone who made this happen. It was an incredible event. Okay, just moving along here. And oh, Brant, I'm gonna actually I did a little research about the CC for it, the Clean Cars for All program. So I have a slide about that. I'll just add a few notes to what you shared coming up here. But oh yeah, so this is actually, yeah, this is my slide here. So Cecilia submitted this article about Toyota's kind of plan moving forward for the next 5 to 10 years. They've just announced a new battery electric vehicle factory that will start producing EVs in 2026, which is exciting. And I was interested to learn that they have a plan for 4 different battery types, each with kind of like progressive improvements over the next 5 or so years. So I just thought I'd kind of talk through them because they're a little bit interesting. The first one is the performance battery. This will be released with their 2026 EVs and it has a 497-mile range. The only difference I could see between it and the current batteries is that it's going to work with kind of vehicle aerodynamics and reduced weight, and potentially like a shorter battery height to allow for lower cost and faster charging. Then they have the popularization battery. They have these kind of interesting names. This will be with this new bipolar technology. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that. It was something new to me. There's a little diagram to the right that I don't fully understand how it works, but it's going to use the LFP lithium iron phosphate chemistry. So it won't have as good of range as the performance battery, but it will be cheaper in cost. And it'll also have a slightly slower fast charge time,
really?
just because of, or then as compared to the performance battery. And I think that's because of the LFP chemistry. Anyway, it's kind of, there's some interesting differences between these battery types that I want to look into a little further, actually. And then they'll have the high performance battery. This will also be made with the bipolar technology. It'll have a 21 mile range, which they were saying was in part due to the high nickel cathode, which I'm not sure how that increases the range, but I thought that was an interesting, unique difference with this type of battery. It'll have a 30% cost reduction as compared to their current, these are all in comparison to their current BZ4X electric vehicle that they just released this summer, I believe. So 30% cost reduction, and it'll have a 20-minute fast charge time from the 10% to 80% charge. This will be released in 2027 to 2028. And then the exciting battery that we're all waiting for, the solid state batteries. So I did a little bit of research about what solid state means, and I thought I'd share it with you in case that's of value to anyone. So essentially, a solid state battery contains a solid electrolyte versus the common liquid electrolyte currently used in batteries. And this allows for a faster ion movement, as well as increased tolerance for the higher voltages and higher temperatures. And what I thought was interesting is all these factors make the solid state battery much safer. The solid electrolyte, I guess, because it's solid, it has a lower risk of fire. So that overall makes it a safer battery, which I thought was really interesting. And it also gives these solid state batteries a higher energy density. So yeah, these batteries allow for the kind of the fastest charging time of all these battery types, supposedly a 10-minute fast charge from 10% to 80%, and then a range of potentially up to 745 miles, which is exciting. So we'll see.
One of the other things about the solid state, Ellen, depending on how they're done, is that it eliminates the carbon requirement for the ions, because the ions just plate right up against the electrode. And so that's part of where you get the reduction in size. 2 years ago, we did a presentation based on the announcements from QuantumScape, and they covered in detail what makes solid state, why was it important for people to work on it. And
okay, so many of you are probably familiar with this already, but it's kind of new to me to learn about this. And then, yeah, as you may know, one of the main issues with these battery types is that they have currently have a shorter life, because as they charge and discharge, they expand and contract because it's a solid electrolyte. And this can cause, over time, can cause cracks in the battery components. But I was reading in the article that Cecilia submitted that supposedly Toyota has developed a crack-resistant material to address this issue. And I wasn't able to find much more about it, but I thought, it's an exciting breakthrough, and I really hope it works for them. And I think their estimate is to have the solid state battery by 2027, 2028. So that's not too far off here.
and we're the same thing from Volkswagen.
I call it King
Oh,
Arthur.
okay. Oh, cool. Okay, that's great. Yeah. Anyway,
They don't have down what their estimate on cycles is, do they, on here?
I don't think so. Yeah, they didn't have a lot of details about the solid state, unfortunately. A lot of it was like kind of to be determined, and
If it's a higher capacity though, then that's fewer cycles. I will definitely believe this when I see it too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Maybe it is so behind that I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
want to talk about
Yeah.
magic.
Yeah, we
But
actually,
they're not musty. I mean,
anybody who's interested, go look back at the previous video from QuantumScape, because
okay, yeah.
they're still being focused on by most of the manufacturers.
That's
Yeah.
great.
I do like though that it does look like they're pursuing a lot of different research into batteries. I mean, different kind of, basically to me, this says they're looking into 4 different battery types to see which is the most effective for different platforms. So I don't know, to me, that's kind of exciting, but we'll see what happens, like you said.
And one of our businesses did some high temperature, large format semiconductors, and we had developed crack resistant technologies as well. So,
Oh,
By the way,
It's definitely
you skipped
doable.
lightly over the bipolar. I thought that was pretty interesting as well. And
yeah.
most of the manufacturers are now looking at doing this. Bipolar, by the way, means something entirely different than it does in semiconductors. And this one basically takes the anode and the cathode, and when you're showing it there, you don't actually see it, but you end up with, I think the cathode they put on one side of 2 batteries.
So it's just like
Yeah.
a different assembly that's more.
So the assembly, it's an assembly. They stack the electrolyte on top of the, I think it's the cathode, and they put 2 anodes on the outside. So now you take a lot of space.
It's balanced. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did talk a lot about looking into kind of the height of batteries as being really important for allowing overall aerodynamics for the car and longer range, etc. So kind of batteries height was key in this article, and I didn't touch on that, but I think both the bipolar and the solid state will really help with that kind of aerodynamic piece.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so I'm going to move to the next slide. I'm not sure whose this is. Is this yours, Cecilia?
I did this one. It was from something that Sonia had submitted. And the diagram on the right is just a zoom up of the diagram on the left. The point was this, and I didn't even use the material that she submitted. I just went to Sunday, which I knew was a sunny day, last Sunday, and looked at the distribution of energy at 6 o'clock in the evening. And we're getting 4 times as much energy out of batteries to the grid than from our nuclear plant. So batteries are becoming a substantial part of the grid at this point, and it's growing really, really fast.
This is California?
This is California.
Okay.
This is actually CalISO.
This is virtual power plants.
I don't know that it's virtual. It's all of the batteries. It's
Yeah.
not just one. Right? But this is the grid complexion according to CalISO.
Right.
And you look at it, and here comes our evenings, and we're living off the batteries, but we're working off of the batteries during that period of time. And the one that got Sonia was, hey, it's 4 times bigger than nuclear during that period.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the breakdown on the right-hand side. You still see natural gas is way up at the top, but still, batteries are about 25% of what natural gas is. That's a big change.
It's a big
over
number.
the last 5 years.
Yeah, right. And nuclear is just that straight.
Well, because nuclear,
one gigawatt.
you can't change it. Right?
Was Diablo Canyon operating at
That's
that
just,
time?
Yeah,
That's
that is
That's the
all
one.
it is Diablo Canyon. And the reason that
Because I thought it produced more than 1,000.
1,000 megawatts, 1 gig.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
well, it came off of CalISO.
Yeah.
The part that was interesting about the nuclear was that the reason that our rates are so low after midnight was that they couldn't crank down the plants, and so therefore they were producing more energy when we had more nuclear in the state, and they had to find places to send it to. And some other states said, "Yeah, we'll take it, but how much are you going to pay us to take it?"
Right.
Yeah. And so, we definitely recognize that like the nighttime is the dirtiest time on the grid for charging. So that I'm in the final stage of rolling out, selecting a provider for telematics-based charging, where you can actually look at a vehicle's state of charge and then kind of orchestrate with other vehicles too.
So there's, look at the
Utilize charging.
building code for the city of Sunnyvale. The building code of the city of Sunnyvale, rather than just telling you how many charge stations you have to say, I forgot what, I think it's called an ALMS system, and they actually have it in their building code.
Automated load
That,
management.
yeah, so that you balance it. And I worked with a group out of Atlanta when we had smaller sites that couldn't handle all of the trucks. And these guys actually understood about Clipper Creek chargers, and they were actually talking to the Clipper Creek chargers and balancing them across a dozen delivery trucks at one site. And so they didn't have to pull so much energy to it, because they look at the curve of the discharge or charge of the vehicles. And some vehicles are at the slower part of the charge, and now they turn them off, turn the other ones on, yeah.
That's cool.
Anyway, I thought that was interesting that so you put that in. It was easy slide.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
That was mine as well. I contacted Wallbox a while back because I want to know if they had vehicle to grid. I saw some things that they had that were interesting, and they said, "Oh, we're not in the U.S." But now I see an article here saying, "Yeah, we're in the U.S. now. The cost is about $6,000. It's vehicle to home." The thing that bothered me about it was it doesn't include the transfer switch. So you have to solve the transfer switching portion yourself, which for me, for most of these, the rest of it is just simple electronics.
That's the hard part.
The hard part is, how do I detect
Right.
turning off the circuit to
Right.
the utility and turning it back on again?
Right.
And I keep researching these because my garage is 130 feet from my
Yeah.
main box, and I want to
Yeah.
put vehicle to grid in. I even put a larger circuit in so that I can put
Yeah.
stations in. But I'm not sure how to isolate when I need to isolate it.
Yeah, the CC just awarded a number of companies Redwoods grant. Redwoods.
Thank you.
I don't know what it stands for, but it's the three companies that we're aware of that we've talked to. Oh, it's our responsive, easy charging products with dynamic signals. Redwoods.
Okay.
But essentially, it's going to lead to rebates for folks to install bidirectional chargers. And so we're talking with some of those people who won those grants. There's at least three who are interested in our area. And yeah, looking at our advanced energy center of the future, we're thinking of kind of how do we redesign that? We'd like to kind of make rooms, and I'd love to have like a garage be one of those rooms and have a bidirectional charger.
Are there regulations in place already? Because I know PG&E has their program, and I've signed up for that one. But nobody's heard anything because I thought the regulations still are not settled.
Yeah, I mean, all those, it's a process.
Okay.
2025, 26 kind of thing. Is that what you're?
That seems like, yeah.
Or is that soon? Is that too soon, or is it more 27, 28?
You've got the products out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Vermont has one, DC Bell has one. Has one, Enphase has one now.
Anyway, I'll provide an update when I know more. I think we'll hear about
yeah.
these folks when they are finished with their contracting, kind of by the end of the year. About their plans.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, so I actually made this slide, and I'll just kind of continue off what Brant said. Yeah, Sonia submitted this article, and it's just exciting to learn about how Clean Cars for All will be expanding. I'm gonna just go back and explain a little bit about the Clean Vehicle Rebate Project because it has some cool facts about it. They essentially have been around since 2010. They promote clean vehicle adoption, offering rebates from $1,000 to $7,500. But this is for the purchase or lease of new eligible zero-emission vehicles. And in July, there were 14,000 applicants for the Clean Vehicle Rebate Project. And they're still accepting applications, but there's not going to be guaranteed a rebate if you submitted it after September 5th, I believe it is, because they are running out of funding, and they will be stopping when their funds run out, potentially the end of this year. But in their place, the Clean Cars for All, which is already in operation, will be expanding to, and actually they're combining with the CVAP, which I believe is the Clean Vehicle, gosh, I forget what the name of what it stands for, but they're combining with CVAP. I can look it up. And
We don't use words anymore. We only use letters for everything.
I know. I think I forgot to write down what that stands for, but in hopes to kind of
Clean Vehicle
streamline.
Assistance Program.
Oh, thank you. Clean Vehicle Assistance Program. So, and their goal with that is to really streamline things. So the CVRP will be ending, CC4All will be expanding to statewide and combining with CVAP. And like Brant said, currently this CC4All is only in the 5 largest air districts, which specifically they were aimed at supporting the disadvantaged communities and those most impacted by pollution. Let's see, but so there are some main differences though between these two programs I wanted to highlight. The main being that there's the Clean Cars for All is much more restrictive in terms of income limits. As you can see, I wasn't able to get exact numbers for the Clean Cars for All because it does change kind of year to year. But essentially, as you can see, the CVRP limits were 135,000 for single, 200,000 for joint filers, and now going down to, they say it's you must be below the 300% of federal poverty level, which I believe this year they said was about 44,000 single and 90,000 for a family of 4. So a pretty significant change going forward. And another difference I wanted to highlight between the two programs is the Clean Vehicle Rebate Project was only for new, the purchase or release of new eligible zero emission vehicles, but the Clean Cars for All does have used EVs that are eligible, and they have the car trade-in option. So the Clean Cars for
2 e-bikes.
What was that?
I think you can even get 2 e-bikes. You can get a transit car.
Yes, that's true. You can get 2, and I think that change, that's dependent on the different. I know that each different air quality district had slightly different requirements, so I was a little confused by that. But I imagine once it's statewide, there will be a more common theme. Anyway, so yeah, the Clean Cars for All, they'll give $12,000 to scrap and replace older gas cars with a cleaner alternative. And if you're not getting rid of an older car, you can still qualify for up to $7,500 in purchase grants, which I'm not sure what they mean by that, but purchase grants, $7,500. So yeah, and let's see. So the Air Board said the goal with this change is not necessarily to eliminate options for one group over another, but to really assist those who've been unable to purchase a cleaner vehicle. And anyway, I just thought it was interesting how they were talking about that now that EVs are no longer kind of mainstream, I guess, or sorry, now that they are mainstream, this is part of why the shift is happening. When they weren't as mainstream, that's when the Clean Vehicle Rebate Project was really hoping to bring them into the mainstream avenue. Anyway,
So this is a statewide program, right?
It will be in starting next year, yeah.
Yeah, the 5 air districts will continue to operate theirs, and then the statewide program will operate outside of those air districts.
The only reason I'm asking that, look
Okay.
at the income qualification and the amount of money that they get.
Mhm.
Anybody who's living on $90,000, a family of 4,
different
$7,500 is not going to make a difference as to whether they can get the vehicle or not.
Yeah.
I know. Well, it is $12,000 though, if you're scrapping an older gas car. So, but still.
I'm confused here. That's a large amount of money for somebody making 90 grand for a family.
No, it's a large amount of money, but given what the vehicles cost,
Oh,
it
I
doesn't
see.
put much of a dent
Yeah, I
in the
gotcha.
cost of the
Yeah,
vehicle
yeah,
for
yeah.
somebody at this
Yeah,
level.
unless it's a Model 3 or something, because those you're into the 29s, I think.
Look at 29.90, and
Yeah,
you
but
figure
you're
out food and housing and whatever else. Okay,
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you, Jerry. I thought it wasn't quite an appropriate kind of change in my mind. And I wish it could still be kind of just a big sliding scale, based on income. Like, why couldn't they just have it be on a gradient, of if you make this much, you get this much of a credit, and if you're down here, you get this much. I don't know. I wasn't sure.
For a used vehicle, they also get the used vehicle rebate, which will become
4,000.
yeah. And
Sorry,
then it was going to be convertible.
Which convertible?
It's like cash.
Okay. Yeah.
So there's that, and then as you mentioned, the Clean Vehicle Assistance Program, like their whole thing is financing and it, helping people that might have difficulty financing, or getting bank credit finance out of the road.
And they can combine it with the federal, credit as well. So that's one point. Anyway, just wanted to share that. Okay, let me go to the next slide. Who made this slide? I wasn't sure.
I did. Okay. This is, I believe Sonia sent this in, if I remember correctly. But this is about the U.S. Climate Alliance. They are going in. It's a coalition of 25 governors in several states and Guam also, and Puerto Rico. And basically, their goal is to increase heat pump installations in their areas. The goal is 20 million heat pumps installed by 2030, and they have a minimum 40% of the benefit of these heat pumps going to disadvantaged communities. And they're looking at ways to maximize use of the IRA money and IIJA. And I knew what IIJA was when I put this in here. I don't recall. I don't recall what that was. But they are programs that have money. Also, they're looking at supporting zero emission building codes, so trying to get cleaner buildings as well, and focusing on efficiency and electrifying buildings. So yeah, the governors are of Arizona, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Guam, Hawaii, Illinois, Louisiana, Massachusetts, Maryland, Maine, Michigan. Wait, yes, that's Michigan. Minnesota, North Carolina, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Puerto Rico, Rhode Island, Vermont, Washington, and Wisconsin.
It's an interesting mix of states.
Thanks. Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. That's IIJ. Thanks, John.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it has some energy infrastructure.
My kid told me last night his electric bill in Dallas for July, August, September was $500 a month.
Whoa!
Because he's running 3 wall-mounted refrigerator or AC units.
Oh yeah, forget it.
And the coldest they could get the house during those months was 85.
Oh my God.
That was the coolest they got in 90 days of over 100 down there.
And their electricity prices are probably a lot lower too.
13 cents.
Yeah.
13 cents.
That's got to be terribly inefficient thing. Just last week, and Sonia and I will probably do a presentation on this. I had my battery system changed, so it monitors all the electricity coming into my site, and I turned on the air conditioning in the studio. It was 400 watts.
Yeah, it's 400 watts. Right.
Okay, that's not much. And it turned on and off, and I'm going, that's not going to add up very much at all.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure the window mounteds are probably 13 SEER or something like that. Anyway.
Well, thanks, Cecilia, for sharing.
Yeah, that's great.
Who made this slide?
Oh, I guess I did.
Was this you?
Yeah. Since I was in battery world, this week I added, I didn't do what Bernie did. I only added 2 additional kilowatts to my roof because I got the new car. And I figured, given that I drive about 7,000 miles a year at 4 miles per kilowatt hour, that comes out about 1,700 kilowatt hours a year. So I needed to add a bit more on top of the roof. And at the same time, I have been working with Caleb and some friends on a proposal for PG&E, and I got this idea saying, why is my battery system only knows about the protected load? And what if the battery system actually clamped on at the meter and would know about the full load? Can it discharge when I have other loads and the utility is still there, and it can participate because there's just not enough load, but I can cut down my power bill? So I was going to write to the product managers of Sun saying, why don't you change the software and add? And Caleb, as usual, did more when I asked him. I said, am I thinking about this the right way? Can I actually detect these kinds of things? he actually checked on Sun and he says, they already have this circuit in their system. So I called my installer and I said, well, this is my idea. He says, yeah, that's another product. You want to install it? And so while they put the solar in, I had that put in too. That got me into looking at what's available today. My Sonnen battery costs something north of $30,000. Sonnen, now a shell company, has introduced a new product, Sonnen Core Plus, for $9,500. It's 4.8 kilowatt. Mine's 8 kilowatt. Mine's 12.5 kilowatt hours. This is 10 kilowatt hours. This has almost all the same capabilities that my system has on it, with the exception of it doesn't look at weather. And I got to tell you that the weather module capabilities on my system are marginal at least. I mean, it knows when there's an event and therefore goes into a different mode. But other than that, but you can afford to buy 2 of these and get more capacity than I have on my $30,000 model.
Wow.
And just have them installed in parallel.
Wow.
So, by the way, at the same time, there's on the web, there's another link comparing this to Tesla's offering. Tesla's is $9,500, and they're comparable. The better part about this is, well, first of all, this has a 10-year life, and or 10,000 cycles. Mine has a 15-year life, and I forgot how many cycles, but it's going to be there for the next 25 years, based on that. But Tesla has much shorter life. Experience in Australia is that Tesla doesn't usually make it through to their warranty period because because it's NMC. These are all lithium iron phosphate, and we're going to see that, and Tesla will be converting too. Software in the Tesla is much better, but I like the way these guys monitor better, because my friend with a Tesla system, when his hot water heater turns on at his spa, not the hot water heater, the spa, the lights in the house dim, and the spa's not on the system. The spa's not on the Tesla system. It's not a protected load, but it runs through the load center in order to figure out what the full loads are, and somehow that doesn't work exactly right. Anyway, this looks great, and it qualifies for a 30% IRA payment. So at $9,500, it says 92 there. It's actually 95. $9,500. Take $3,000 off.
Yeah.
You're at $6,000 for battery backup. But more importantly, for EV owners, the time of use, you can now pair off your evening use. You don't even need solar panels. You can charge it in the middle of the night or even during the day when renewables are highest, and then discharge it between 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. at night when the price goes to 48 cents a kilowatt hour.
Yeah, and if I could just add, so we've noticed that a lot of people with batteries are just using them as, like backup, like they just never touch them, and they hardly discharge at all. It's maybe 80% of folks. And we're rolling out a pilot with Enphase. We just approved it last board, and I know you're.
Thank you. I'm going to meet with Carolyn next week.
But they would manage those, and there would still be controls, but it'd be $140 per kilowatt hour sign up incentive, and then a lower kind of annual incentive for having it enrolled each year. But it could be.
Why is it I have all these things installed before anyone wants to give me money?
You're an early adopter.
Yeah, good.
David, go ahead.
Well,
sorry. David, you have your hand up.
Yeah, what's the estimated installation cost?
About $3,000.
Okay, thanks.
That actually was in the article. That's why I said that. Obviously, it'll make a difference in different places. The installs themselves, quite frankly, if you're not protecting loads on your site and you're going right up against your panel, it's pretty damn trivial.
And if you have solar or other things that are already part of that, does that complicate things? Or
Yeah, it does, because what you're going to do with the solar system, built into this system and built into mine, it monitors the solar as well. And so it's figuring out strategies on charging. But I like a lot more complicated strategies. So I wrote to somebody about using a habitat to change the strategies. One of the things that Sonia and I will probably bring back to the club is a discussion on batteries, how batteries work, how different modes in batteries work, how all of that fits together, what arbitration's about. And as Brant pointed out, most people don't think about arbitration. And yet that is both good for you and it's also good for the grid. So it's a discussion that Sonia, we haven't figured out what we're going to talk about yet, but we'll spend a few hours outlining a talk.
So, Brent, on that, you made a comment that 80% of the battery owners don't use their batteries every day. They kind of use them as backup for when the grid goes down. Is it because of that 10-year, 10,000 cycle issue? People are like panicked about wearing out their battery. It's $1 per cycle basically to use your battery.
Probably need to do some surveys of people about why they do what they do. But I mean, I think a lot of people install things and don't think about it.
They don't think
like,
about
oh, I have it. So,
Right.
It's just kind of an insurance policy.
I got you. Okay.
But Dom, take a look at this right there. It's 10 years or 10,000 cycles. Let's assume that it actually works to 10,000 cycles.
Yeah.
That's 30 years.
That's 30 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your solar panel is only
yeah.
It's covered for 25.
Yeah.
And 30 years, it's a roof, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jerry, for
Yeah,
sharing. It's really interesting.
This is me too. DJ's in Italy, so I have to walk the dog. So we went through Regal Park, and I go, "What the hell's that?" And so I just pasted this really fast. I took two fast pictures. In Regal Park, now they put in a portable a charge station. Now I believe, and I'm not positive, because there's a little sign on here, and I couldn't zoom in on it, that there must be batteries in this unit as well. Either in the piece up above or in the bottom part.
Yeah.
You know what, for sure?
So we supply the chargers for these.
Oh, cool.
They are at Raggle and Sonoma Mountain and on the Petaluma Hills entrance to Taylor Mountain. And they're still learning a lot about these. There will be more signage coming. We've had, both great comments and, oh, there's a gas car parked there. I know that we've had a lot of successful charges, but the one at Raggle has been the most problematic. There's something that is switching off, but yeah, they have a battery that is, so these are off grid. They're charged by the solar and then they charge vehicles.
There's the answer.
Wow. Are they free to use?
Is right there. Take a look at the picture. What do you see in the picture? Shaded.
Yeah. So there's issues about where they can place them, and then I think like the solar tracking feature of it has also.
Oh, it has solar track. Yeah. Oh, okay, that makes it complicated.
Are they free to use? Does anyone know? Or is it
for I forget the number of hours, but it's maybe 3 hours, and then there's kind of like an idle fee.
Wow, and it's level 2?
Yep.
Wow, very cool.
Battery up in the top piece or in the
It's in
platform?
the top. It's in the top piece. Yeah, that platform is just for stability.
Okay.
You can park on it.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's cool because they can redeploy them. But like the company that Beam is the one who manufactures them. They looked at some of the spots on the coast and they're like, I don't know, it could be kind of foggy out there. And so they suggested initially placing them at some of the more inland locations.
Cecilia, you have a question?
There's actually a.
You mentioned idle fees. What network is this affiliated with?
So it's some kind of regional parks. The chargers themselves are NLX Juicebox Pro chargers, and so there's like a QR code on there that you scan to start charging.
Just for that particular one, I go over to Taylor Mountain often. I can't remember if I saw where it was there. The parking spaces over by the shade thing. Parking spaces over by where the dog park is. There's no trees.
This is at the Petaluma Hills one?
No, right here. This is the
Oh,
same.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
park. So I wonder, yeah, they want to move it someplace where there's less shade.
Yeah, I assume it's there for a reason, like the people who place it there are not, are not idiots, but,
Right.
yeah, I think if they were able to place the second one, this one has gotten a lot of use.
Cool. Thanks, Jerry, for the pictures.
Yeah.
Sure.
Fun to see.
So I put together 2 slides, and really it was about just the investment that's going on in battery tech right now. So LG about a year ago announced a $1.4 billion investment also in Queen Creek. And this goes back, this is actually a few months old now, but they're going to be they plan to invest $5.5 billion in Arizona, a mix of cylindrical batteries for EVs and pouch cells for energy storage systems. So it's, I mean, $5.5 billion is a large amount of money, even if you're rich, right? I mean, so no small thing. They plan to push out about 27 gigawatt hours when production starts in 2025, and they'll sell those to the US EV makers who are using cylindrical cells. And then they'll push out about 60 gigawatt hours starting in 2026 of the pouch cells. So, and really their goal, of course, is to do everything they can to pull Inflation Reduction Act tax credits in, right? It's Korean maker. Now LG's having some challenges right now. I thought I read last week where they were in Australia, they were causing battery fires in houses. Like in that Sonoma use case, the LG stuff was being told to unplug immediately because they had no control over it. But,
so they're NMCs.
No, I think it's LFP. Yeah, LFP pouch cells. Yeah, yeah.
And they have a fire, but I mean, you got to get to a really high temperature for
Yeah,
a higher problem.
I don't know. I don't know what's causing that issue in Australia, but I do know it's an issue. So this was the first one, and then go to the next one.
Wait, before you go,
go
John, just ask a question for John. Hey, John, doesn't Nissan use pouch batteries?
Pouch, but they're LMC.
No, yeah, I know, but they're pouch batteries though. The form is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the volts were too. And then this one here was you know, I'm still having a struggle trying to understand a domestic automaker's EV strategy. I mean, Ford had just momentum galore with the Lightning and the Mustang. They put all the chips on the table. Now, you know, and this goes back a few years ago as well, but basically it's a global supply chain now. Albemarle is based out of Virginia, I think, but they are not saying which country they're getting their lithium hydroxide from. SQM is coming out of Chile, Nemaska is out of Quebec, and then we've got our own Salton Sea in the fight until California kills that with taxes because they want to charge per ton of lithium hydroxide coming out of there, and then Compass Minerals in Utah. So Ford is trying to make sure that they have sufficient nickel and lithium to support 2 million EVs. That's what they're still claiming.
I bet you nickel turns out to be the constraint and not the lithium.
Yeah, probably so.
Lithium prices are down.
Yeah, lithium prices are down. Just a couple of points on it. One was when Caleb and I were making electric buses and trucks, working on that. The batteries that we used at the time were table salt and nickel.
Yeah, and they were high temperature, right? They were
high temperature,
450,
400 some degrees.
Yeah,
yeah, melt the salt basically to get it started. But everybody said, aren't these dangerous? It's table salt and nickel. How dangerous can it? Well, can it burn? And you go, it might smoke, but it's not going to burn.
Yeah, right.
But I'd love to see a presentation in the future that one of us would do on the availability of lithium going forward. So I'm having this argument with a friend who bought himself the hydrogen powered vehicles where he keeps saying there's not enough lithium, and I believe that
they just found more.
There's lots of lithium. The real question was what it costs to get the lithium. And before lithium in 2010, 95% of lithium was used for grease. How much do you want to spend for grease?
For grease, right.
Right. So that's not the case anymore.
Yeah, where did they find? They just found like a century's supply of lithium
Yeah.
somewhere.
But anyway, I'd love to have a
Forgot where
presentation
it
so I can
was.
put it in my friend's face.
David Harris, you had a question?
Yeah.
Are you there, David?
You're on mute, David.
I'm on my phone and the mute is off to the left side. I have to turn the screen so I can get unmuted. No, my question is anybody going to make any stock recommendations? Is it time to invest in QuantumScape?
It's a crapshoot.
Well,
Yeah.
I took
Well,
the crapshoot on
I
Tesla.
already invested in QuantumScape.
Right, and you've seen it go down, but now is the future looking different.
Invest in Aptera.
There you go.
Oh.
EV.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. From an investment perspective, I think it's going to be a wild ride for a while.
Yeah.
Until the market stabilizes. Especially in the US, right? But if you look at like the Chinese market, I thought I read this, that they're expected to ship 6 million EVs in China this year.
Wow.
You know,
We had
30% of their market is EVs.
This last quarter, we had 300,000 EVs
Yeah.
sold in
Yeah.
the US.
Yeah.
Of 62% were Teslas.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Dom, for compiling this info.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't put them on the chat. I was just reading yesterday. I said, oh no, this is people are making massive investments
Yeah,
now
Yeah.
in this space. So this is going to open up.
Yeah. Well, I think Cecilia, did you have a slide you wanted to share?
I have some screen sharing to share, and I also just want to say that we're not stockbrokers, so anything you hear about stock recommendations, do your own research.
Yeah.
Okay.
Camera money.
That's right.
Yeah, due diligence includes asking your friends.
Especially if they're insiders, right, David?
Well, no, that insiders doesn't.
All right. Are you able to see the
Yeah.
screen here?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, I like earlier this year, I came across some data around. So I was curious. Like we've been talking about what's the most popular EV would have, and I was wondering what do people have around in our area. So I did some little research, and there's like all kinds of numbers. I was putting some together. Oh, and if you want to follow along with me, this is actually on our website now, so you can check that out if you want to.
Nice.
So the first thing we have here is level 2 charge stations. We can see across the 6 counties that are roughly making up the North Bay. We've got Lake, which is pretty low on charge stations, and then Marin is pretty high. And recently, Sonoma County just overtook Marin.
Yeah, we're like twice the population though. So
Yeah.
Marin, right? Yeah.
So these are both since the stats been since 2020 Q2, and it runs until the second quarter of this year. I'll point out that there is no first quarter. They were quarterly, but recently the California Energy Commission switched to doing a semi-annual reporting frequency. So there's like a missing thing here. So that's why that's not.
So that's public charging
They're
stations.
public. Yes. Public.
No,
They also
no.
have stats on private shared, but I didn't include those for just to focus on like what's what's generally available.
there's so many wineries, and I don't count those either.
One of the questions when Dom asked that question, I'm starting to wonder, now that we moved the second EV into our garage, and then my friend Raj down in Palo Alto, I always had a charge station. I still have a charge station, but the second car isn't charged off a charge station. I'm just using a cable into a 50 amp circuit. My friend has his Tesla in his garage down in Palo Alto, and he charges his Tesla just off a 50 amp circuit with a portable charge. do you all think that charge stations are going to become personal charge stations be less popular over time since we're starting to see cables that do 40 amps?
Oh, where the basically just bricks. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
Jay?
whatever. Remember when I was
Oh,
showing
wow.
the car, I brought the one for my Leaf. That's actually what I charged the E6
Oh,
with.
wow.
It's just the cable,
Just a brick. Okay.
just the
I,
brick.
I think so. For people who are able to charge at home, if like a lot of people aren't owning a home, they're not going to want to invest in installing a station there necessarily. It's easier to be able to take something that just plugs into the wall.
And that's why Brand introduced me to Orange and companies like that. I'm wondering if that kind of thing is going to become even public more prominent. I'd like to see us get some in place and see what happens with it.
Yeah, no, I mean, if your automaker is giving you a charger that meets your needs,
And those cables are only $200, so.
And apologies, my meter's about to go.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
right.
Oh, what time is it? My meter's about to go too. So
yeah.
Okay. Next, we have some DC fast charging stations. Of note, Lake County doesn't have any.
Right.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Yeah. This is I should say also that these stations are based on voluntary reports from Charging Network folks. I think of the ones that they listed that they reached out to, they're the ones with public stations, and I think the ones that didn't respond, I don't know if they were necessarily. I've never heard of them, so I don't know if they were public charging stations. But so FYI about what these are.
Wow.
If we just switch down to just one, you can actually have like a little bit more of a dramatic.
That ramp.
So that's a pretty significant change.
So we've gone down.
Yeah. Do you attribute that reduction at the end, a drop of about 25 units, as reporting error or error?
I mean, it could be. I don't know for sure.
Oh, never mind. It's only 7. Never mind.
Yeah, it could. It could have been a station that was removed for some reason.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Seven.
And these next. Go ahead.
Well, even like when John and Ellen reported, taking the I-5 trip, I stopped in and looked at one of the ones that were in the
Thanks, Brian.
rest stop, and yeah, it was offline. So maybe these like 7 that
There's some early 50 kilowatt hour stations.
They're taking them offline.
Yeah, the blinks, the early blinks
Right.
are out,
And the 50 kW charge points.
Right, next up, we have vehicle population, and this is broken up by the propulsion type and fuel type. And you can the one number you can see here pretty easily is gasoline. That's taking up. I mean, that's like most of the cars on the road today. But if we remove gasoline, we can actually see a little bit more detail about what's going on with all the other types. If we look at gasoline hybrids, we can see that those have been around since they started in 2010 with these numbers. You can see that they've had like some ramping up, and there's still more and more being produced. Look at plug-in hybrid, we can see that started in like the last decade, and there's some buildup there. I didn't know propane was a thing, but you can't see it in this chart.
No, right. Yeah, there's no energy in propane or natural gas.
Yeah, I think those are mostly probably fleet vehicles, so probably not a whole lot.
Or fork trucks.
Well, and when I lived down in Salinas, that used to be pretty popular back in the 80s.
Yeah.
We can see that diesel vehicles have had a little bit of a peak, probably just right before the pandemic. It looks like, as far as purchasing.
Volkswagen Dieselgate.
Yeah.
They're just not here. They're not dead. They're just not here in California.
Right. And then battery electric vehicles, you can see probably the Leaf, the Model S, kind of starting off. And then once the Bolton Model 3, you can see it really starting to build up.
What does fuel cell look like? Anything?
Fuel cell. Let's look at fuel cell.
Can't see it.
I don't know. Let's take off some of the bigger ones. Let's take off diesel, gasoline hybrid. Let's see. Can we see and flex fuel? That's basically
What is flex fuel?
that's I think that's diesel, and also it could do biodiesel.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
Or alcohol. Wasn't flex fuel alcohol?
Yeah,
90% alcohol.
Oh,
10%.
right, corn.
I thought it was wine.
Let's see, what are we looking for? Fuel cell.
Bad wine goes into your gas tank.
Okay, I think there's a little bit like right. Yeah, you see a little bit like right here in these two spots. We take off battery electric, and what's the other one? What's the other one? That's plug-in hybrid. Here we go. Okay, fuel cell. So there's a few.
110. 130. Okay.
So on the fuel cell, you guys saw yesterday that they announced $7.5 billion of awards of hydrogen build out throughout the country, right? And they're still trying to show that not hydrogen, it can be made without just taking gasoline and turning it into hydrogen. I mean,
Well, there are ways to do it. It just takes 10 times as much energy to get it out of the hydrogen.
Exactly. Take it out of water or take it out of gasoline. You know, and they're both horrible.
The third option is that there is a process to produce it from methane, and the product, rather than CO2, is elemental carbon. And but I've been looking for info on that. I don't know what the energy dynamics of it are, but it is possible to produce hydrogen without electrolysis. And I was on the East Coast and did see some hydrogen stations in truck stops. So,
well, my one friend in San Francisco is convinced it's the right thing, and he says he loves having his hydrogen fuel cell vehicle and has no inconvenience. But I'm wondering if he ever drives out of San Francisco.
Yeah.
Well, the one guy who had a Mirai that showed up some years ago at the Drive Electrics had to drive down to Golden Gate Bridge, basically in Marin, to get hydrogen, and that's probably still the case, right?
Yeah. One issue with the fuel cells is that they are very sensitive to the purity of the hydrogen. They also have a lifespan, just like batteries, and they're pretty expensive to replace. And also, there's recycling issues as well.
I think one of the things that someone I know who has a fuel cell vehicle, their big thing is that it cleans the air, because it does need clean air. So they have a lot of air filters, and so drive around like, I'm cleaning the air. All right, so these are just electrified propulsions. We can see again, that the mild hybrids, the gasoline hybrid, is the predominant version. But as we get in towards more a little closer to like the last century starting, we do see like a little bit of divergence with the plug-in hybrid and the battery electric. They're kind of like tracking pretty much together until like about 2019. I'm not sure if this is in relation to, definitely Model 3 took off. And the Chevrolet Volt at some point was discontinued. I don't know if that's related there, but see that battery electric is just really just starting that incline. Okay, so now let's talk about the actual vehicles that people are buying. So because there's like 70 something vehicles, like last year there or earlier this year there's like 70 something vehicles, I believe, that were electric, that were purchased in the state of California. I was going to do a chart with like all of those vehicles, so we're just limiting it to the top 10. And the way it's working on, because I was impatient and didn't wait for next year to get like nice like 1 year and 1 year comparisons, we've got 2022, and then we've got the first half of 2023. That's the data that was available to me. So for the 2030 number, maybe it's going to be about double at the end of the year. That's going to vary, of course, depending on production and what people decide they want to buy, or if any new vehicles come out.
Wow, so the first half is almost the same number as all of 2022 in most of the categories. I mean, that's for the ones that track over.
Wait, I'm not following it. Can you explain that?
Well, I mean, look at the Jeep Wrangler, for example. All of 2022, the Wrangler sold 7,000, and first half of 23, it sold 7,000, more than that, right?
Yeah, well, when was it introduced?
Maybe didn't have a full year.
Oh, maybe you didn't have a full year. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, maybe
Right.
so.
I mean, we can look at like the Model 3, which is, or actually probably the Model Y is probably a better example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See that it's been available for all of 2022, and then in 2023, the first half. I believe this is just the first half data. That's what I've been told. There's possibility that it might be more than another month, but these are the assumptions I'm working under based on what I found. Okay, so for California, it's like the first four are going to be Teslas, Model 3 and Model Y, by far the most popular, or at least the most purchased vehicles in 2022. Got the Ford Mustang Mach-E coming up fifth, Bolt EUV, Hyundai Ioniq 5, and that Jeep Wrangler, which is a plug-in hybrid, and Toyota Prius Prime, also plug-in hybrid, and then the ID4. I think the ID4 might have gotten introduced. Was it introduced in 2022?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So then we look at the first half of 2023. Model Y, Model 3, they've switched places, but they're still the top two. That Jeep Wrangler Hybrid is the next one. And then you got the Bolt EUV, and then the ID4 has really moved up.
Mm-hmm. Mustang's almost in the same spot.
So it'll be interesting in 2 years, I think, because everybody was talking about Teslas. We had Leafs, Teslas, and Bolts.
Right.
I think that was it.
Right.
Now we've got some 80 different models. The manufacturers now aren't doing this because they had to. They're now doing it because this is where the industry's going. And so they'll start advertising. And I expect to see a big shift.
Yeah.
I mean, Tesla will still have a lot.
Yeah.
But in the rest of, and that has to do with California.
Yeah.
More than half of the Teslas are in California. Well, more than half the EVs are in California. But if you go in the East Coast, you might see some Teslas, but you don't see anything else.
Yeah. I think NACS will help too, right? A single U.S. standard of NACS.
Yeah.
That'll really help. It has not helped having Electrify America, everybody bitching about Electrify America or EVgo, whereas the Tesla charging network has been a net benefit. So we'll find out if that all stays true when all the other manufacturers have to plug into Tesla chargers.
Yeah, we didn't, I think I saw recently, it didn't make it into the news, but Tesla is actually starting to do their version 4 superchargers, which have longer cables. So some of the with existing supercharger networks, the cables are so short, and there are vehicles with charge ports in like various different places.
Right.
So we'll see how that works out once,
Cecilia, how long are the longer cables?
I don't know how long they are, but they are.
I don't go to those. That's why I'm asking. Is like 25, because the standard was 25 feet was the longest that you were allowed to have a charge cable. I was wondering if that had changed.
It's definitely shorter than that.
Okay.
They make about 6 feet now, I think, at a Tesla.
Okay, so let's look at the counties. So we have Lake County, not a whole lot of cars there, or electric vehicles anyway. Model 3, Model Y in 2022 were the most popular, followed by the Bolt EV, and then the Bolt EUV. Mustang, the ID4, Prius Prime, RAV4 Prime, Polestar 2, Subaru Crosstrek. Quite a few plug-in hybrids there.
This is new car sales, right?
This is new car sales, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah.
Not total
So
vehicle, not your, yeah.
the way that they track this is they look for cars that didn't have previous owners and had lower miles when they looked at the DMV database.
Got it.
Yeah, it's I think most of these counties, not all, it's like Teslas or Model 3 and Model Y are going to be leading.
Yeah, and this is a little deceptive because the scale is different on each one.
Yeah, the scale is different oh, you mean as far as between the years or between the counties?
No, yeah, between the years, yeah.
Oh yeah. So this is going to be. I mean, again, this is only half the year, so it's going to be
Yeah.
less than in Marin County. So again, lots of Teslas, and I'm also kind of wondering, like, if average income plays a part in like which models are the most popular. Did you
But
see?
none of these are cheap models.
Yeah.
The Volkswagen probably appears at least, well, the Chevy, huh?
I'm shocked that the Polestar 2 didn't make it above 43 units in 2023. Given that it's 141 in 2022.
It's only half a year.
Well, I know, but you'd think it would at least sell half the vehicles. You think it'd sell 70.
Yeah.
That's just kind of weird. One of those, I mean anything, but.
So I think this is the first time we see the Rivian, the R1Ts in here.
Yeah. And I've seen them on the road now too. I'm surprised at the number of times I've seen them.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least this is the top 10 list. This is the first time this is where it's appearing in Marin County. In 2022 and 2023, it's still there as well, and also the R1S, the SUV.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Picking up there. Mendocino County. This is where I live. My car's not represented here because I didn't buy it when I lived here. Again, Model 3, Model Y. So in 2023, I think it's the first time we see the Toyota BZ4X and the Subaru Solterra. They share the same platform, and they're being counted as the same model here.
I did not know that.
I'm not sure why the data is that way. I don't know if that's how the DMV codes it or what. But Chevrolet Bolt EUV beat out the Model 3. Or no,
Yeah.
they're tied. They're tied. So far in 2023.
Alphabetical order when tied.
Yeah, the Model Y is really definitely
Yeah.
as being more popular. People like their SUV / crossover vehicles.
Cecilia, is this from a website that you're showing us?
This is on our website.
Oh, on our website. Okay,
Yes,
good.
yes, I put the link in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can look at it later.
Can we add the link later to the presentation also? So if somebody pulls the
Yes.
deck down, they'll look at it.
Yes. So I realized I forgot to put a link in the deck. Napa County. Okay, go 2022. It's got all 4 Teslas at the top of the list.
Yeah. Wow. All 4 models.
Bolt EUV.
All about money.
Well,
It's about
and
price.
and there's 24 trucks so far, and
Yeah,
the Napa dealer was gouging people for it.
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
got them someplace else.
yeah, yeah, right.
Looking at
All right.
2023, we do see that R1S also getting onto this list. Ford F-150 Lightning.
Yeah. Ford's EV strategy got killed at the dealership for
Yeah,
sure,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I think Chevy's gonna have the same problem.
Mercedes-Benz EQS. I don't think I've seen that earlier on the list. Solano County. It's also fairly popular with Teslas, although the more expensive models didn't quite make it to the top.
But the EV6 finally shows up.
Let's see. Solano starts what in Vacaville and goes towards Sacramento, basically.
Yeah.
No, Vallejo to back there.
Vallejo to
I don't know where the top
Okay,
city is.
all right, but it's over
Vallejo's
there.
in Solano County.
Is it to Dixon?
Dixon.
Go on
Yeah.
80.
Okay.
Oh, so okay, so we can know like what the most popular vehicles are. Again,
Yeah.
Sonoma County still Model 3, Model Y.
No Model S's, right?
So what was that?
No Model
No.
S. Is that
No, not quite. I mean, Model X is a little bit more popular than Model S because it's SUV.
This is interesting to me because I know when I drive down Santa Rosa Avenue, I see that, and over on Auto Row, that the number of dealers are pretty active about selling EVs, and yet you see Teslas.
Yeah, yeah. Well, who knows what Tesla's doing with their price? Every time we turn around,
Yeah,
cut the price again, right?
Yeah.
They're buying the market, basically.
Well, it is actually very interesting, the ratio of Y to Model 3. It's almost like it's like there was a pent up demand
There
for
was,
that Model 3 price point, but now in just 1 year, it's really flipping. All of these charts we looked at,
Yes.
there's like now
They flipped.
almost twice as many Model Ys as Model 3s.
But the Ys weren't that easy to get before either, were they?
But they've been out for several years,
Now they were released in 2020. I think Fremont was the only place making them, and I don't know if they had how much their lines had to shift in order to balance between the two. But then Texas is producing Model Y, and I think it's only producing Model Y, and also will be producing the Cybertruck soon. So there are two places for Model Y, so there is probably more capacity for producing Model Y than Model 3 at this point.
Yeah, but there wasn't the capacity for Model Ys until last year. They were at limited production, I thought.
Okay. So let's look at the California fuel cell model. So this is not limited. This is all of them that were listed. We got 3 models in 2022 and only 2 models so far the first half of this year. I guess Honda discontinued the Clarity fuel cell version.
So this Mirai outsold some of the lower selling EVs. That's a surprise. Full year for 22.
Some people really do seem to really want hydrogen.
Yeah.
Well, one friend's argument on it was that it cost a lot less.
These vehicles cost less than the
Yeah.
EVs? Oh, they're just ICE vehicles that burn hydrogen, kind of?
No, they're fuel cell,
Yeah. Yeah.
but they cost less, and probably because they don't have the burden of the battery cost.
They also get free fuel.
Oh, they get free fuel. Okay, well, he didn't tell me that.
Yeah, I mean, not forever, but because it is hydrogen is more expensive than electricity. But yeah, so they from what I've heard from my friend, is like they'll get like a card that they can use to go to one of the 2 or 3 fuel stations, I guess, in the area. And I think some will offer free like car rentals to go on out of state or whatever, because there is no infrastructure for long distance travel in hydrogen. So yeah, I think the Mariah is it's the one. Toyota's doing a good job trying to get those out there.
Yeah,
Yeah, even the first half here is,
yeah, that's not nothing.
yeah.
Are they available in any other state other than California? You know,
I'm trying to think of like which other states actually have hydrogen infrastructure. There's I think the um, U.S. Energy website has a list of hydrogen stations.
got it. That's
So
right.
if you don't see hydrogen stations in the state, then they're not available there. Probably. That would be my guess.
Yeah, right.
All right, and so that's it for the presentation. Have fun playing with the charts.
Yeah, Cecilia, I'm going to call you later. I want to know how you did the charts that you guys turned those columns off. That was really cool. When you just turn the vehicles off and you were able to see the lower levels of data as you turn bigger poles off. You have to show me what you did there. This is really
I've
good.
got other apps that do that too.
Yeah.
I never thought about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not live like that. No, that's really cool.
Yeah,
They're really nice graphs. Wow.
There are tools that you can plug into your website. As long as you can put the data into it, it'll do the things that it's set up to do.
Yeah, but you did it.
It's been a little too much time trying to figure out like, oh, it's not working right. Let me make this. But I did also, I wanted to, there's also, I have data for like electric school buses, didn't get around to get those in there. I also wanted to compare people with driver's licenses in counties just to see like how many drivers there are, what that increases. And
percentage. Yeah.
So just, there's all kinds of cool things you can do with data. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
I just Googled hydrogen station maps, and they're all in California.
Okay.
It also killed Zoom, though. That's why I did it. Log back in.
Oh, no.
It's a non-hydrogen platform.
Well, thank you, Cecilia. That was awesome. I think we're just about done with our meeting here. I just wanted to let you all know that next meeting is November 11th. So far it will be on Zoom, but we'll keep you posted. And if anyone has any ideas for the next meeting or would like to present something, please reach out to Cecilia and let her know. Let's see. Is there anything else?
I had a question for those attendants.
Yeah.
Is the room worth it? Or just do it at your place, or?
Well, my place, my wife will always complain about it. If we park out on the road, it's not a problem. Look, there are only 5 of us here. If it's 5, it's no problem. We have meetings up in my studio all the time up there.
Right.
With 4 or 5 people.
Right, exactly.
And have the same monitor and camera and that stuff. But John, do you want to check with the EAA, the other EAA, and see if they would be up for that?
Sure, I could do that. Yeah.
And they have Wi-Fi there, right?
They have Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So did Sonoma Clean Power not want us to?
No, we can go back there, but they will only do 4 times a year.
Okay.
Per organization, yeah.
Okay.
So we need to find a spot.
I see.
And I think if we can get Zito back online, we can always get a picnic at his house.
Yeah.
Because that was actually a lot of fun. I thought
Yeah.
that should be an annual thing. I mean, so
Yep.
great idea doing that. We just need to find a home for 6 or 7 other meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I used to go into Thunderstruck,
I know. My car knew what to do.
The shop at Thunderstruck is kind of worse. Brian bought 45 drivetrains that are electric drivetrains, and they're all on the floor in one shop, and we're just kind of going crazy.
That's awesome.
What are you gonna
You
do
know,
with it?
there is a Tesla location now in Santa Rosa, and I
wow.
stopped in there and talked to the manager. They do have a conference facility at Tesla.
Okay.
That's
David,
out on Airway Drive.
is that something you can follow up on and see if you can get a
I,
meeting used as a venue?
yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Because if we could split between a couple places, then that might be good. I mean, it might be a better sell to people than every month.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe did any of you know that was there? I just happened to be driving down Airway a couple of weeks ago, and there's a Tesla sign and a.
No, I
They,
drove down Airway and I saw it was there too, but I didn't stop at the facility.
right. Well, they have plans to build a lot 1 block west of where that location is. So that's mainly their service center. But they're putting in about across from that laundry facility on Industrial, just north of where they park the buses for Golden Gate. That
Oh.
corner lot is going to be Tesla's Santa Rosa lot. So it's like a half an acre. I mean, they're going to have room there.
Wow. Okay. Well, great. Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Is there anything else, Cecilia, that we need to cover or discuss before we head off? Okay, well, thank you all for coming and for everyone who participated in making this meeting happen.
Great
Yeah.
stuff.
Wow.
Well, thank
Thanks,
you,
Alan.
Ellen and
Bye.
Cecilia.
Yeah, we'll see you next month.
Okay.